Fitting neatly like a piece in a gigantic jigsaw puzzle between Java and the island of Lombok is Bali. Politically, it's a part of the Dutch Empire. Physically, it's a part of a great submerged bank which begins in Asia. Bali is separated from the better-known island of Java by the Bali Strait, which at its narrowest point is no wider than the Hudson River at New York City. And yet, this insignificant division for centuries has been a barrier to the modernizing influences which have deeply affected the life, customs, habits, and beliefs of the Javanese. Living amid scenes of remarkable beauty, the inhabitants of Bali are taller and more powerful than their Javanese brothers, show greater enterprise and activity, and have clung tenaciously to their age-old customs, unspoiled by foreign exploitation and influenced but little by contact with Western ideas. "600 miles south of the equator, Bali enjoys a climate conducive to rich vegetation, and the Balinese are natural agriculturists. The terraced mountainsides look like giant staircases from an earthly paradise to heaven itself, but in reality the terraces are carefully irrigated fields for the rice, which forms Bali's chief item of food. To the stranger, these limpid pools, carrying on their surfaces the reflections of 1,000 beauties, are a source of wonder and delight. To the natives, they are simply places to work. When the tender rice shoots are sufficiently grown to stand transplanting, the workers carefully move them by hand to paddy fields, where they will mature until harvesting time. 4 months intervene between transplanting and harvest, during half of which the rice is grown underwater. Brooding above the fields, the peak of Bali, 10,000 feet high, stands sentinel. As among most peoples, the harvest time in Bali ushers in a period of festivity. The ripened grain represents the culmination of the year's effort. It's the assurance of plenty, and it speaks to the soul of the simple native of such profound things as life's tendency to perpetuate itself in nature, and thus hints at life eternal. Small wonder, then, that at the harvest, the family group, no matter how widely scattered at other times, gathers for the reaping. No machinery finds place here. Each stalk is hand-plucked with the gentleness of a caress. And as the tireless harvesters work their way from end to end of the fields, not a stalk of the precious grain is left standing. Both men and women work at this task, which to others would be back-breaking, but which to the lithe Balinese seems not only the pleasant way, but the sole way to garner their crops. Duck form another important food item on the Bali menu. The natives have discovered that even the tough ones are savory if one stews them long enough. A farmer with his ducks make an interesting picture. The ducks follow their owner about like a pack of foxhounds with their master. He carries with him a tiny flag and pole, which he plants at some point in the paddy fields, and around this his ducks stay all day if needs be, while he's working elsewhere. Dr. Edward Thorndike of Columbia University proved to his own satisfaction that what we think of as intelligence in animals is really but an association of ideas usually associated with food. The Bali natives discovered this for themselves, and by feeding their ducklings always beneath the flag, have developed this unique method of keeping their flock together and disassociated with other similarly trained ducks. The kindly-hearted natives are lovers of pets, especially doves, which they keep in roomy wicker cages slung from poles, from which they may be lowered whenever their owners wish. Gamecocks, too, are highly prized. These fowls are necessarily kept in confinement except for training periods and exercise. The birds are carefully groomed for their fierce battles and are inherent fighters. Malay gamecocks are the nearest approach to the jungle fowl from which all domestic chickens are descended. In their wild state, they live in lofty forests, in dense thickets, as well as in the bamboo jungles. And when cultivated land is near their haunts, they may be seen in the fields after the crops are cut, in straggling parties of from 10 to 20. Jungle fowls were probably first domesticated in Burma, and Chinese tradition says that chickens came to China from the west in 1400 B.C. Domestic chickens are not mentioned in the Bible or in Homer, nor in the Egyptian hieroglyphic pictures, but the British Museum has one sculptured in the Lycian marbles, dating from about 600 before Christ. Bali pigs are grotesque. There are thousands of them wandering over the countryside and through the villages, eating whatever they can find to sustain life. In the villages, they act as scavengers, keeping the streets free from refuse. But whether the garbage or the pig is preferable is an open question in the minds of visitors. The pigs are shipped to Singapore for Chinese food, since the religion of the Hindus, which the Balinese profess, prohibits the use of pork for food. The exportation of these roly-poly pigs is a source of considerable revenue to the island. The vegetation, the trees, vegetables, fruits, and flowers on this spice-scented island is varied and uncommon. The great banyan trees are a constant source of beauty and are frequently the shady scene of village games and recreations. The orange and shaddock, which we call grapefruit, thrive here, as do the lesser-known mango, mangosteen, guava, and durian. Among the food plants, one finds rice, maize, sugar, coffee, tea, cocoa palm and coconut, groundnut, plantain, banana, yam, cassava, and breadfruit, and among the spices, pepper, cloves, and nutmeg. The Balinese are indeed a good-natured and hospitable people who worship their gods with little offerings placed in baskets hung on the walls, take good care of their children, and believe that the soul dwells in the forelock left unshorn on this baby's head. There has been a decline in the culture of the Balinese. They have no written history, and their earliest traditions go no further back than the overthrow of the Majapahit dynasty in Java, which occurred in the 15th century. Yet it is supposed that there were Indian settlers here as early as the 1st century, by whom the present name of the islanders was imposed. The name probably comes from the Sanskrit word balin, meaning strong. An ever-present reminder of the former culture of the natives, however, is found in their temples, which abound in the island. These are made from friable stone, easily sculptured, and are invariably of the same general type of Hindu influence. For 4 centuries, Hinduism has been extinct in Java, but in Bali, separated by 1 mile of shallow water, it is still in vogue. It is now partly blended with Buddhism, and somewhat overgrown with a belief in kalas, or evil spirits. Until recently, the cruel custom of widow burning, suti, was still practiced. Notwithstanding the parasitical beliefs which have cropped out over the pure Hinduism, the Brahmin priests still wield considerable influence and keep in existence the system of 4 castes and the 5th, the pariah or untouchables, as exists in India. Just as in other religions, music plays a part in the ceremonies in Bali. The native orchestras are recruited from players who have made their own instruments and have been taught by their parents. Since no written music exists, the renditions are both unusual and startling, but there's a mellowness which is pleasing and a marked rhythm. Bali has a population of slightly more than 1.5 million. The earliest settlers, long before the dawn of history, were probably fair Caucasians who displaced the dark-skinned aborigines. They were followed by an immigration of Mongol Caucasic people, in which the white blood was predominant. At a far later date, probably almost within historic times, the true Malay race, a combination of Mongol and Caucasic elements, came into existence and overran the archipelago, in time becoming the dominant race. In the present people, there is an admixture of Hindu, Arab, and Chinese blood as well. Whatever the racial beginnings of these people, The result is a group in which Eastern beauty mingles with a virility superior to most of the other groups in the Melanesian islands. The Balinese are satisfied with their island. They love their fields, their bold mountain peaks, and their forests. In a word, they are content. And now, as the music fades and the graceful dancers have ceased to weave their shadow patterns before the temple of their gods, we leave Bali, set like an emerald in the turquoise eastern sea.